Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'll show you how you can use config sync, which was recently introduced by Google to manage your Kubernetes cluster. Config sync uses basis of configuration as a code to manage Kubernetes cluster. As part of this tutorial, we'll be doing the following steps. So first we'll be downloading a config sync operator and applying this configuration, uh, configuring SSH key to our GitHub, downloading nomos, and then using config management YML file. And then finally, we'll be doing some testing. Hello everyone. Before we start with the installation steps, I must tell you that if you're using Google Cloud and if you are running these commands, you must have gcloud and gsutil installed. Also, you need kubectl installed. For this demo, I'm using Docker Desktop where I'm having Kubernetes cluster installed, Kubernetes enabled, and I have two clusters, Docker Desktop and Docker for Desktop, which I'll be using for this demo. As mentioned here, config sync operator, you need to first copy this using gsutil command. You can copy this to your local machine, and then you can apply this configuration. So you can see kubectl apply -f config sync operator YAML. So if you are familiar with the Kubernetes command, you can use this to apply this configuration. What I'll do is I already have this YAML file, so I will not do this step. I'll just run this step. So I'll just apply it, and then you should see that what are the steps done. So there are some custom resource definition created, role binding, custom role, service account, and deployment and namespace got created. Uh, Also, you need a GitHub repository where you can have your configuration file, and then configuration file which will be helpful to operate your Kubernetes cluster. Um, you need to provide the access mechanism so that your Kubernetes cluster operator, this config sync operator, will be able to access the GitHub repository. Here I'm using SSH key. If you'd like to generate, you can use this command. This is the passphrase, so you can use your own passphrase, and this is the username of GitHub repository. And this is the file where it will be generating the keys. So I already have this, and I'll be using just this one because the cluster is empty. It doesn't have any Git credential created, so I can just use this one. You can see I already have this public key and then this SSH key which I had generated, so you can see the related file. So I'm just using this one just to create Git credentials, which will be used in the later steps. You can also download, copy this nomos.exe, which can be used to check, for example, status of the synchronization. Also, you can use to set up some uh, pre-commit hook, which will be useful if you by mistake do some typos in the configuration. Then it will do a check before you commit to GitHub. All right, so I'm skipping this step as well because I already have it. The next step is also you can copy using gsutil this configuration, or you can have your own version. So I have my own version of config management YAML file. This is the main file which defines how you can grant the access to your repo. So I'll just show you this file here. So this looks like this. This is the API version. I just copied it from the Google, and the kind is config management. I have given this name config management, and then cluster name I'm applying only to this Docker desktop. This is my repo, and this is my Google Cloud, sorry, GCP config sync Git repo, where I have all the files which are required for cluster management. All right. Here is a branch, and then I'm defining, I'll be using SSH key, and this is a directory which will be synced to Kubernetes cluster. All right, so let's have a quick look at this as well. I'll just go to my repo. So this is my repo. This is the folder which will be sync, and in this folder I have two more folder. One is the system where I have the repo.yaml. This is a simple a repo kind of YAML file where it's kind of defined as repo, then name as repo, nothing more. Then I have a cluster folder where I have two, basically three YAML file defined. So for example, for creator, this is I'm defining a cluster role here, a pod creator. Similarly, here I'm just another cluster role, namespace reader, and then here cluster role binding. So all these are will be synced to our um, Kubernetes cluster here. All right, so let's let's go through the steps once again. So I have to apply this. Once I apply this, this should basically automatically sync our Kubernetes cluster. So let's just check. This is the command to check what's going on. So far it is saying unknown. Now you can see it is pending. So this two cluster is in the pending state, and now it is saying that it is synced. So this is very important. So once it says synced, that means all the configuration which was defined in my um, uh, repo, GitHub repo, is applied here. So everything will be available here. How to do the checks? I will just check this cluster roles here. You can see the cluster role namespace reader and pod creator is already available here, and now you can see this age is 36 seconds. Now how we can test this that our config sync is working properly? To test that, I will just delete this and then recheck it. So you can see that it has automatically recreated the pod creator cluster role. So this way you can maintain your cluster configuration using your configuration in a repo. So basically what it is doing is whatever config you have defined, it will sync it every time it finds a difference. So it keeps on running some kind of cron job and keeps on checking if anything has changed on your repo, and then it sync it to cluster. So this will be very useful for especially for cluster operator who manages single cluster or multi-tenant cluster, or managing basically thousands of cluster, and they don't have to do anything manually. They can just write all this configuration as a code, put it into Git repo or any other repo, Bitbucket, GitHub, GitLab, and then run this config sync operator, and then it will automatically sync it. Thanks guys for watching. Do subscribe and share if you like it.